Welcome into this Friday edition of HQ Spotlight. Emily Proud, Sudu Upadea with you, and I don't know about you, I feel like Fridays are really just to get us all ready to go for Saturdays and Sundays.
No doubt about it. You got to start getting geared up, and we've got a great slate coming up here for sure.
But we had some action that started last night in the NFL. Let's remind you what happened on Thursday Night Football. We're going to the fourth quarter. Niners up a score, but not anymore. The Rams, game tied at 20 apiece with a missed extra point, which means we're probably going to have some free football later on. But let's go over here to later in the fourth quarter. First and goal from the 3, but Alfred Collins punches the ball out, so the Niners have the ball with a chance to take the lead, but they go 3 and out. Rams get another chance with a minute to go. 4th and 3 from midfield. How about that? Stafford with Williams setting up a huge kick. Joshua Carty missed one earlier, but hits this one, and we are going into overtime, all tied up at 23 apiece. Let's go to the opening drive for the 49ers. 3rd and 12, just outside the red zone. Mac Jones, his throw will fall incomplete after just getting whacked. Poor guy was limping throughout this game. Niners held to a field goal for the lead. Mac Jones limping his way off. Now it's Matt Stafford time. Need at least a field goal. Going for it on 4th, and they are short. Williams gets stuffed for no gain. It's a turnover on downs, and the 49ers will win it 23-20. So with the win, the Niners are 4-1 atop the NFC West. The Rams drop to 0-1 in division play. Seahawks at 3-1 overall, and the Cardinals down at 2-2. So let's look at the state of the division with the NFC West and welcome in Tyler Sullivan and JP Acosta, giving us some scores here, some grades. Got the red pens ready. Let's start with the 49ers, guys. 3 wins with Mac Jones at quarterback, and they are off to a great start this season. JP, what's your grade for San Francisco?
I'm giving the 49ers a B. I think it's been a really good year for them, especially defensively. It seems like they're trying to punch a little bit above their weight class, especially with all the young guys they have on that roster. It really is tough because I do think they could be a lot higher if a lot of their guys just weren't injured. You're not having Brock Purdy. You don't have George Kittle, who's on IR. You didn't have Ricky Pearsall, Jawan Jennings on that Thursday night win. But I have it at a B largely because I think they can still improve offensively, and a large part of that is just getting all their guys healthy. So it's been a good year so far, but I think it can get better.
You're a tough grader, JP. Come on now. I'm looking at this 49ers team. Emily, you said it. It was Mac Jones leading them to an overtime win over the Los Angeles Rams to take first place in that division. They're 4-1 despite all of those injuries. This is an A+ if I've ever seen it. Maybe I'm just an easy grader here, but overall, I look at the 49ers, and it's everything that you guys said. The injuries have been a massive storyline for this team, but they've come out the other side, at least for the first month or so, and have a winning record in first place in the division. And more important than that, they're 3-0 in the division. They've beaten every single one of their division rivals thus far this season, which is only going to help them maintain this lead whenever Brock Purdy, George Kittle, and those other cast of characters come back. So this is a credit to Kyle Shanahan. It's a credit to Mac Jones. It's also a credit to Christian McCaffrey, who's suddenly turned into a wide receiver 1 in fantasy football because he's catching so many passes. But overall, this is a surprise team because they've been able to persevere all of these injuries.
Yeah, I feel like it's like taking a test without the calculator. They have been without all their weapons and yet still continue to win. And I don't know about you guys, I would love to play quarterback for Kyle Shanahan. It seems to work out for everybody that gets to go through there. But let's go to the losing side of that game last night. Rams, their 3 wins, though, have come against the AFC South, which is a division that we'll talk about later on in the show. Not the best, though. 2 losses from the NFC. Tyler, what's the grade?
Yeah, I'm giving them a B here because, again, it just feels like this team should be a little bit more polished. As much as we're commending the San Francisco 49ers, they should have lost this game. The Los Angeles Rams should have won. You should not be punched in the mouth by Mac Jones and Kendrick Bourne for the tune of 140 some odd yards receiving. Right out of the gate, you're down 14-0. That's just something that you shouldn't be doing for a team that's fully healthy if you're the Los Angeles Rams. And we kind kind of saw this in that Philadelphia game as well. They were able to get up, but then all of a sudden they kind of get punched in the mouth. Philadelphia comes back and they don't really get up. So there's a little bit of concern here for the Los Angeles Rams. It feels like when teams need to pass on them, they are able to. They're the only team that seemingly was unlocking A.J. Brown with the Philadelphia Eagles in that comeback. Of course, it came with necessity, but even last night, and I mentioned it, Kendrick Bourne's going for 140 yards. He wasn't even with the team in the start of training camp. So to me, I just have a little bit of concern with that secondary, and overall, this team should probably be 5-0, but they're not.
I'm actually giving the Rams a B+ to start the season, largely because all their losses and the way that they've lost kind of feels like what you expected from the Rams going into this season. The offense has been incredibly potent, especially with Matthew Stafford being 100% off of injury. But you look at both of their losses, the biggest theme is if you're able to beat them in pass protection, if you're able to run quick game, if you're able to avoid pressure from their Rams front four, you're able to attack their linebackers and secondary, and that's a large aspect of how they've built their team. They've built it trying to win through the front four and without addressing a lot of their issues on the in the secondary and linebacker core. But on the flip side of that, they're 2 block kicks from beating Philadelphia. They're a fumble away from beating the 49ers. A lot of bad breaks have gone their way. So I think I'm going to stick with a B+ here for the Rams, largely because they've just gotten the wrong break on the wrong side of things.
And here we thought JP was the tough grader. This got a whole lot more interesting. Let's go to the Seahawks, just coming off a divisional win over the Cardinals. But looking at this team in totality, JP, what's the grade?
I'm also giving the Seahawks a B+. I think it's because the defense has been as advertised, and they are still getting guys back healthy. But the offense under Sam Darnold and Jackson Smith-Njigba have been incredible throwing the ball. I think there's still a little more meat left on the bone when it comes to them running the football. It's been a little bit more boom or bust than you'd expect. But Clint Kubiak and Sam Darnold have really kind of built a very happy pairing together through throwing the ball over the middle of the field. Sam Darnold looks incredibly confident, and that offense is flying as a passing unit. So I'm giving the Seahawks a B+ because I think they can still get even better than this.
Yeah, I'm in lockstep here. I gave them an A, and this is a team that I was pretty bullish on going into the season. I thought Mike Macdonald was a live candidate for Coach of the Year, and I still think that that's only been warranted over the 3-1 start to begin the year. And JP, you mentioned it. This defense, coming into the year, I think we all thought it was going to be pretty good. It is now like a top 5, top 10 in the NFL in certain respects. And so that, to me, is the strength of this team. The one variable kind of that concerned me as someone that was very bullish on the Seattle Seahawks was how was Sam Darnold going to translate going from quarterback nirvana, which is the Minnesota Vikings, to a lesser team in terms of coach, the skill positions, and all of that with the Seattle Seahawks. And so far, he has passed with flying colors. You want to talk about completion percentage, you want to talk about passer rating. His numbers through the first month of the season, if you just take that snapshot, are better than what he was able to do for an entire season with the Minnesota Vikings. Now, again, you're comparing that entire season to just a month, so things could change. But overall, what we've seen from Sam Darnold from an efficiency standpoint, it's actually better than what he was with the Minnesota Vikings, which is, to me, shocking. And you referenced it as well. The running game has been a little inefficient, but I think that that's going to turn a corner. And once that does, this is a freight train that might win the entire division if the rest of these teams in this division aren't careful.
Yeah, it's especially impressive considering the Vikings let Sam Darnold walk. So that's always going to be part of this early season, is to see how he's doing with his new squad. Seahawks on a 3-game win streak, Cardinals on a 2-game losing streak. So, Tyler, what grade would we give Arizona?
Yeah, I give them a C+, and I feel like that's even a little bit generous. They're 2-2 on the year, and I just feel like we don't necessarily know who they are. They've lost back-to-back games on game-winning field goals, but the 2 games that they won, I mean, you're talking about not necessarily beating the elite. You're talking about beating the New Orleans Saints and the Carolina Panthers. And the problem here is we won't even really know the answer of this team coming out of next week as well, because they face the Tennessee Titans, who are not world beaters by any stretch of the imagination. combinations. So the defense gives me a lot of pause. You talk about Kyler Murray, hasn't really been prolific, hasn't really gotten on the same page fully with Marvin Harrison Jr. That was something that we were looking at going into the season. Could those two finally get in sync? To me, it's still been a little hot and cold between those two. So I give them a C+. They were kind of a dark horse going into this season to possibly win that division. Of course, at 2-2, you're still live, but not in that same tier as the other teams that we were talking about.
As someone who was really high on the Cardinals going into this season, I'm actually giving them a C, largely because I actually think the defense has been pretty good when everybody's healthy. The last few games, they've missed Will Johnson, who has given them such an added boost in the secondary. They're still waiting for Walter Nolan to get back. They've missed a little bit of pieces in the secondary. But offensively, I've just been left wanting more from this offense. A large part of that is because Clayton Adams, their offensive line coach, left to Dallas to become their offensive coordinator. And since then, they haven't really been able to get anything going on the ground. This team is a ground game based offense. They want to try and run the ball and then be explosive throwing the ball downfield, but without the run game, they haven't been able to be explosive. They haven't been able to get those downfield targets to Marvin Harrison Jr. And even then, that pairing, that connection has not been good for Kyler Murray and MHJ. So I think that I would give them a C because there's still a whole lot of room for them to improve, but the offense feels like they have too many more problems that can just be solved in 1 year.
Yeah, the Cardinals have been enjoying playing against the NFC South while the Rams have enjoyed against the AFC South. But ultimately, there you go. That is the state of the NFC West. Guys, do not move a muscle. We got more divisions to talk about. But first, let's look at the odds to win the NFC West. And just like the standings, the Niners are the favorite. Rams at plus 240. And the big long shot, take them now if you want some good value. The Cardinals at plus 1,700.